All right, thanks, Nathan. Hi, everybody. This is Joanne Modak from Destination British Columbia, based here in Sydney in Australia. I may know some of you if you've been on CSP FAMs or joined webinars before. The last one I did was June last year. So what I thought I would do was basically take the same presentation, do a bit of an update. I'm calling it 2.0. With our focus at the moment really being around trying to push people to travel in the shoulder months and the winter months, so really from September through till May, because naturally people are going in June, July, August, but as you are probably experiencing with some clients, it's challenging to find rooms in certain places, and the prices are quite dear. So I've got a bunch of information here and ideas and resources to help you to give those tips to your clients and maybe think about some things outside of those common areas and common times of the year. So for anybody who doesn't know, Vancouver or British Columbia is the province on the west side of Canada. Vancouver is the gateway city. Air Canada now has direct service not only from Brisbane and Sydney daily, but we also have direct service from Melbourne starting on June 3rd this year, 3 days a week, and that will go year-round, and hopefully in the future that'll be 7 days a week as well. So it's becoming more and more accessible, and we're finding the numbers are going up and up to Canada. So hopefully we see some more of your clients over there. Thank you for the ones you've sent so far. And this is the province of British Columbia. Most of what I talk about is based generally in the bottom third of the province. So Vancouver being the gateway, we've got a lot of people now exploring Victoria and all of Vancouver Island, and Whistler, of course, north of Vancouver. In the middle, we've got Kamloops, where you've got the Rocky Mountaineer and Via Rail train traveling through. And then we're just on the border of Alberta. Jasper is up here, and Jasper is up here, and Banff is just down here. So we border the Rocky Mountains with Alberta. So again, as I mentioned last time, for anybody who's listening last year, most people genuinely think of going to Canada and British Columbia. They think of Vancouver, of course, being the gateway city. They think of taking the Rocky Mountaineer train because we've got so much advertising in the marketplace about the train. In the winter, they commonly think of us as a great skiing destination, and for all the escorted tours, Butcher Gardens is pretty popular. But we've got lots of other things going on. I thought I'd start with a few things in Vancouver that are new. And I've been over there September last year, November last year, and March this year. So I've been able to see some of those spring and some fall things going on. So in Vancouver, a new establishment called The Park, P-A-R-Q, is right down by the BC Place Stadium, so the great big stadium in Vancouver. It's a whole new precinct, very similar to the Crown in Melbourne in regards to hotel accommodation, casino, and restaurants and entertainment all under one roof. So this is a picture of the park from the outside in the top left-hand corner. On the right-hand side is the JW Marriott Hotel. So this hotel, absolutely stunning. Here's a view of the inside of one of the rooms. So they're really light and bright, overlooking the False Creek out the water, and also literally overlooking the roof of BC Place on the other side. On the other side of the precinct, over here, we've got another hotel called the Douglas. So this is a new Signature Collection hotel by the Marriott, which apparently there are a handful of them around the world at the moment, and they are meant to look and feel and take on the personality of the destination. So this is the reception area of this property called the Douglas, and that is a Douglas fir tree you see there. So this is a photo of the rooms. To me, they look like the Roots store, and you see in Canada, leather and dark wood and that sort of thing. But really beautiful property, and they have great big public spaces as well, bars, restaurants, reading areas, outdoor areas, so it's really cool. And again, like the Crown in Melbourne, you don't feel like you're in a casino when you're in the building. So you have to be literally in the middle part in the casino to feel like you're there. Otherwise, the hotels are very much disconnected from all of that. The photo in the bottom right left-hand corner is one of the restaurants. So there's 8 top restaurants inside this precinct, the park. They're all run by the same establishment out of Las Vegas. So you may be mistaken for thinking you were in a Vegas type of restaurant here. So Honey Salt is BC Fair, local farm-to-table kind of produce. So really beautiful place to go and hang out. Like I said, there's 7 other restaurants in the same precinct. So we've got Asian restaurants, we've got sort of type restaurants, that sort of thing. So it's a new establishment, lots more rooms, different area of the city, but equally as great to go and visit. And also new this year or last year is the Trump Hotel. So that hotel is right across the street from the Shangri-La, which is right on West Georgia, not far from the cruise ship terminal. And don't be afraid of the name Trump. I know you're probably all cringing on the other end of the phone. The hotel is actually owned by a local Malaysian man. He just has bought the rights to the name Trump for the property, which happened all before Trump became president. So I've been in the hotel. It looks very similar to the Shangri-La, really glamorous and beautiful inside. Again, it's just another option in Vancouver. And if you don't have a client who wants to stay there, I can highly recommend this picture down in the bottom corner here. This is a new restaurant called Mott 32. So Mott 32 is a restaurant famous in Hong Kong. They've taken all the staff from here over to Hong Kong to train and brought them back. So it's sort of Chinese family-style eating. I have been twice since it opened, and I can tell you that it is, in my opinion, the best restaurant in Vancouver at the moment. So the most amazing cocktails you've ever seen with flower petals and different infusion type vodkas and gins. The family-style food is just divine. They even bring the Peking duck to your table and carve it just like they would a turkey. So I know I'm going on and on about it, but it's definitely worth a visit. So make sure you recommend that to your clients. As I said, our focus is spring, fall, and winter. So spring, this is a photo in downtown Vancouver. Those are cherry blossoms, very similar to what you see in Japan. And they are all over the place at the moment. So we are, April 4th today, and the town is blooming with cherry blossoms. And very much no snow on the ground in downtown Vancouver. Probably a light puffer jacket is all you'd need at this time of year. So because we're the West Coast, we lose our snow much quicker than the rest of Canada. And to be honest, at this time of year, we don't really have any snow. You'll see it over on the North Shore Mountains here, but not in the downtown area. So you can confidently send your clients over there at this time of year without having to worry too much about getting around. This is over on Vancouver Island in Victoria, and again, they are already in full spring fling mode. So you can be flying on the float plane, riding on those little ferry buses at this time of year, and you won't have any problem with snow and ice, etc. Last time I did my presentation, I talked about different food tours popping up. And I started to add in new slides this year and realized, you know what, between food tours, craft beer tours, distillery tours, and bike tours in both Vancouver and Victoria, we just have constant evolution going on. And I think a lot of these products are commissionable, so you can book them for your clients ahead of time. Of course, they can choose to do them when they get on the ground. Great way to see the city and really a local experience. For my last visit to Vancouver, I went on a gastronomy tour in Gastown. The gal that led us through 4 different restaurants was just so incredibly well versed about the city itself and all the different things popping up in the food and culinary world. It's just such a great experience. Can't recommend it highly enough for your clients. Again, biking tours, some of them are biking and coffee tours, some of them are biking and beer tours, some of them are just simply scenic tours. It's a great way to get around both Vancouver and Victoria. unlike places like Sydney in Australia, very flat and very easy to get around on a bike. So you don't need to be very fit, and you don't need to be very amazing on a bike. And also what you will have a chuckle about is in places like Victoria, the traffic is moving at a snail's pace, so they see a bike on the road and they all stop and let you go first. Well, you wouldn't get that over here. So again, tell your clients to pop on one of these tours. On Vancouver Island, again, because spring is already quite mild, people are out kayaking, they're golfing, the golf courses are already opened in April. This is the west coast, so this is Tofino on Vancouver Island. Really rugged coastline, beautiful area to visit. If any of you follow Chris Hemsworth on Instagram, he's over there right now. He's filming a movie, and he's been taking photos of himself in wetsuits out surfing. It's some of Canada's best surfing, but I will admit it is much colder in the water than it is over here, so you'd be wearing a nice 4mm wetsuit or a dry suit to do your surfing. But certainly something to take into account. It's very much, Tofino is a lot like Byron Bay in Australia in terms of the culture and, you know, the beaches and that sort of thing. On Vancouver Island, you'll find a lot of the old growth rainforests because it is in a rainforest. It's always green and lush. On the way from Victoria, if you're driving to Tofino, about halfway, there's Cathedral Mountain Gorge, and this is the kind of scenery you'll see. So I just recommended to somebody that was flying off on the weekend to make sure they stopped in and had a walk around in this area. Back on the mainland, you've got the Sea to Sky Gondola. So this is halfway between Vancouver and Whistler in Squamish. So it's only 45 minutes from Vancouver. And for all those clients that are taking cruise ships, maybe they only have half a day free and they were looking for something to do, or they want to see the mountains but they don't have time, definitely put them on a tour to come up here to Squamish and the Sea to Sky Gondola. There are tours leaving from downtown Vancouver with Landsea Tours that do a day trip up here. So you go up the gondola to the top. There is a restaurant. There are small hikes, large hikes, scenic viewpoints, and it's a great place. I just saw people who were up there this weekend on Facebook with a fam, and the view this weekend looked spectacular. There was snow on the mountains in the background, but it was a blue sky, sunny day. And again, they were just wearing light jackets at this time of year. We've got lots of waterfalls in British Columbia. One similar to this one right next door to that Sea to Sky Gondola at Shannon Falls. So I know everybody loves the photo of a waterfall, and in springtime they are flowing pretty strong, and they make for great photos. Moving over to the east side of British Columbia, Mount Robson Provincial Park is very close to Jasper, but on the BC side, we've got great glaciers in the spring turning into summer. The snow is melting. We've still got snow on top of the mountains. The lakes are thawing, and again, it's a great time to see wildlife as well, especially if you like, if you're keen on seeing the baby cubs out with their mums, whether it's baby bears or moose or elk, etc. They're all out in the springtime, so April, May, even into June. And leaping right across summer to fall, a lot of people like to go over to Canada for the fall foliage, and certainly Eastern Canada and the U.S. have some great fall foliage, but we do have a similar experience in the West. So you can see on the mountains there, we've got a lot of pine trees. They don't turn color, obviously, but we do have a lot of trees that do. So September, October, great time for getting out to see the fall colors. And I saw that they added in some new and unique activities that I have either experienced or Nathan has experienced sort of last fall. So I went with the Canada Specialist fam to Squamish in late September, and Nathan went with a product manager fam mid-October, and these are some of the activities they did. So snorkeling with the seals, based in Nanaimo on Vancouver Island. There's a company now doing snorkeling. Nathan tells me it was pretty hysterical. The longer you're in the water, the more the seals get friendly and want to come hang out. We're also known as one of the best cold water diving destinations in the world on Vancouver Island. So if you've got clients interested in that and want to add that to their bucket list, maybe they've been to the Maldives and other places, Fiji, that are famous for its diving, have them try Vancouver Island. Caving on Vancouver Island, this is a really unique experience. Again, Nathan has done this on his tour. So we've got anything from 1 to 3 hour tours up to the sort of 5-hour tours, rappelling off 7-story waterfalls, really beautiful scenic area on Vancouver Island. Forest bathing, you may have heard of it, you may never have heard of it. Try to Google it, it's pretty funny. It's definitely coming from Japan as a popular activity and growing as something that they're doing in British Columbia. So it's essentially going into the forest and listening to the sounds and getting away from noise pollution and with all that oxygen in the air from those old growth rainforests, pretty much absorbing the environment you're in. But it makes for a great story telling your friends you've gone forest bathing. As I mentioned, I was in Squamish in September, of which we did all of these activities. So you might think September 23rd that it may be cold by then, but it's not. We were out whitewater rafting, did a scenic slope plane tour, we were out kayaking, mountain biking, and craft beer tours. So there's lots of activities. Squamish is halfway between Vancouver and Whistler, and I can't recommend the area enough. For me, I'd never actually stayed overnight there, driven through many times on the way to Whistler, and I was just so impressed with this beautiful little town in the middle of all those mountains and all the things you could do there. I might add that they had some excellent food as well, and top tip for everyone, a restaurant called Fergie's, which is sort of out in the forest, and the best brunch ever. It was just amazing. So Google that one or add that to your bucket list for your clients. Canada is a company that's been around for quite a while, but their list of things they're doing is growing. So these are the kind of tours for those real adventurous people. They do things like Orca Camp, which is going kayaking with whales off the west coast of Vancouver Island. The West Coast Trail is one of the most famous hikes in Canada. It's similar to Cradle Mountain in Tasmania. It's 75 kilometers long. It's about a 7-day hike. They've got guides on all these tours. They bring the food, they bring the tents, everything for you. Wells Gray National Park is sort of north of Sun Peaks and west of Jasper. So it's a great big park in British Columbia, great for kayaking, canoeing. This is where you see a lot of moose, and I talk about that a bit later, and all sorts of other activities. And they're also doing things into the Rockies, including horseback riding, hiking, and right over into the Okanagan area. Another company that's just popped on the scene, interested in doing more business with Australians, is BCA Tours. So these guys lead those hiking long, multiple-day trips where you need a backpack and you need hiking boots. But here are some of the scenery. I've done the West Coast Trail myself. That's the photo on the left. And it was an incredible experience. So again, if you've got clients that want to do these sort of things, maybe they're the kind of client that goes on a world expedition or intrepid trip, we have some great things in British Columbia. So the West Coast Trail, North Coast Trail on Vancouver Island, and the Rockwall Trail over in the Kootenay National Park is the photo here. So that's the Rockies that you see in the background. So small groups, guides, everything included. Great options. And you may have clients that are going to see grizzly bears, or they want to see grizzly bears, and you've heard that September is the best time because of the salmon being out and the bears being out. So if you're having challenges getting into some places like Nut Inlet Lodge or Great Bear Lodge, there are some other options out there. And Eco Tours is one of them. We have some of the wholesalers are selling this product. End of June right through to the middle of October. So the season's a bit longer and a bit further into October than you'd think. I've been over there in October, and if your clients don't mind the weather getting a bit cooler, a bit wetter, October is a great time to see bears because the salmon are still out and the bears are still out. So if you're having challenge with September or maybe August bookings, try to push them back into October. So this tour is in the Caribou region. That's the region, again, sort of north of Whistler and Sun Peaks. They've still got the floating lodges, luxury tents. You have a high likelihood of seeing the northern lights in this area and old growth rainforest. So sort of a lot of the things you're getting from those other lodges, but maybe they're not as busy or the season's a little bit longer. Sweetbriar Park Lodge is another one that's in that same area of the Caribou, and it's a beautiful lodge. I must get a photo to stick in here. That you stay in. In the winter, it's a heli skiing operation. So you can imagine, very glamorous kind of lodge, and you're out seeing bears all day, every day. So this is one of our grizzly bears. This is at Night Inlet Lodge. Like I said, they're out sort of from April right through to October. This is Spirit Bear. He is a white black bear, and the only place in the world you can see him is in British Columbia in the Great Bear Rainforest. And the most likely time to see him is in September, October, because he likes to feed on the salmon. So there are a number of operations. Spirit Bear Lodge is a lodge on land that you can see him from, or them. And there are a couple operations that are small yachts that take sort of 12 people at a time, 12 to 15, and they are Maple Leaf Adventures and Blue Water Adventures. So that's another way you can get into the Great Bear Rainforest to see those bears. We've got lots of other marine life throughout the province. Fall is a great time to see that marine life. So seals, sea lions, otters, whales. We've got whales throughout the province, but down in the Victoria area, we have 83 that live in the area all year round. And something you may not know is we talk a lot about September, May to September being great for whale watching, but there are 2 whale watching companies doing whale watching in the winter in Victoria. So you can get out there, your clients can get out in December and go whale watching. Again, because we have a milder climate, it's not a frozen lake, it's the ocean, so you can still be out there on a boat. These are some more of our waterfalls throughout the province. And this is in the Rocky Mountains, so on the border of British Columbia and Alberta, an activity called heli hiking. Now, this is the most extreme version of it. This is this person walking along what they call the Via Ferrata course. So CMH is a company, Canadian Mountain Holidays. They do heli skiing in the winter. In the summer, they open a couple of their lodges up, and they take people by helicopter to go up some of these mountain ranges and go for a walk all the way up to crazy mountaineering. So it's not as wild as it may look in this photo, but it is an opportunity for people to get out and do a bit of hiking or a bit of walking, even if they're in their 80s and they're less mobile, in a beautiful setting. And really, everybody of all ages can do it. So CMH heli hiking, look it up, is a great option for those adventurous types. And driving throughout the province, so we've got great, wide, well-maintained roads, even in the winter. But for clients that aren't comfortable with winter driving, spring and fall is a great time to be out there. It's also where you'll often see wildlife on the side of the road. So free wildlife experiences by driving through British Columbia. This is the Okanagan area, and we've got 150 plus wineries in this region. We have one of the best festivals in October. So the first couple of October called the Fall Wine Festival under a website, OkanaganWineFestivals.com. And it's a great place to visit for your clients that are interested in wine tasting or farm-to-table produce, because at this time of year we've got everything that's fresh and ripe. Some of the best apples and the great big pumpkins that you see on the television shows in North America, they're all ready to go at this time of year. It's also a great area for people people that do like biking but don't want anything too crazy. So this is Kettle Valley Railway. It was an old rail line which has been ripped up and turned into a 250-kilometer biking experience. So they're still developing the product along here, but the idea is that people will be able to hire a bike, and they'll be able to bike between wineries, do activities, and stay in B&Bs along the way over the course of a number of days. So I've done it before. I've done the day trip, and it's not hard at all. Even the most basic of biking people on a bike could do this. Very flat and wide and easy, but great scenery. And this is just another photo of what the Rockies look like come fall. So all the snow has melted from throughout the year, and the glaciers are still there. So again, lots of great exploring to do. A bit more of that area. And then we'll just pop on to winter. So you think of British Columbia in winter as a place for ski holidays, but there's so much other awesome activity happening in the winter months. I'm just going to pop through this photo. So in Vancouver, starting at the end of November, which coincides with American Thanksgiving weekend and those famous Black Friday sales, Vancouver literally switches the lights on for Christmas. All down through downtown is decorated, the streets, the trees, like it's Christmas. This is Grouse Mountain, where you've got a lot of snow, and we've got Santa's Workshop up here. There's a photo of Santa's Workshop, ice skating, snowshoeing, all sorts of things happening up on Grouse Mountain. Down in the city, there are Christmas markets. Again, there are all these sales on everything leading up to Christmas. So December is a great time to send your clients over here, maybe a pre-Christmas trip. Maybe they're going to New York to do the Rockefeller Center and putting up the Christmas tree. So, you know, this is a great combination. They could do New York and Vancouver and see some of those things that are on their list without having to spend the prices on the flights at Christmas, without having to have the crowds that you get at Christmas as well. And I thought I'd just talk about a few other things that you may not have ever heard of that are happening in winter. So snowshoeing and moose viewing tour. So this happens in Wells Gray Park that I talked about with a company called Clearwater Lake Tours. We just had some of our staff and doing a FAM out of Vancouver, and they did just recently do this. They said it was amazing, and yes, they did see moose. So something a bit different for your clients. I also just was in Sun Peaks a couple of weeks ago with some friends on a ski holiday, but there are a lot of other things that are really cool about a place like Sun Peaks that happen in the winter that are non-ski related. So they've got an authentic voyeur dinner at a bistro called Voyager Bistro. Things like bison, bannock, berries, the local Aboriginal food on the menu. We also managed to go ice fishing. And some people would say, what would you do that for? How boring. But it was so much fun. We don't get frozen lakes over here in Australia. So to be able to go out, the guide picks you up at your hotel, takes you out for a half a day of fishing. You get to walk on a frozen lake. He drills the holes. He pops up an igloo that's quite huge that fits 10 of you in there with a heater going. And you can see right to the bottom of the lake through those holes. It's so clear. And you sit there with your fishing rod and you have a chat and you drink hot chocolate, and it's quite interesting. You know, you also can go out the tent and just stand on the lake with a fishing hole. We saw 3 bald eagles fly by while we were there. We caught 4 fish in a couple of hours. They were rainbow trout, and he takes you back to your property. He goes and fillets the fish, and then you can cook them up. So I thought it was a fantastic experience. He says to me that he's got all sorts of Australians coming on his tours now, and they're finding it a really great activity for the family, something to do other than skiing. It's also great because your phones don't work out on the lake, so there are no electronic devices and everybody has to talk to each other. It's also a great place to go dog sledding. So again, I've been told in Whistler there are a number of dog sledding companies and they're always full. So dog sledding is very popular for the Australians. I think I have a couple photos of I'll just go back to those ones, dog sledding photos. Cross-country skiing is another great activity for winter in some of these resorts if you're not into downhill skiing. And I'll just flick back here. This is Capilano Suspension Bridge in Vancouver. So like the rest of the city in between December 1st and February 1st, they're all lit up for Christmas. So really pretty place to visit. Pardon me. Stanley Park also decorated up with lights and a show for people in December. And I talked about spotting bald eagles in Sun Peaks. Well, Brackendale is a town halfway between, so we're just past Squamish on the way to Whistler. In January, they have a bald eagle festival, and they do a count one day, which is January 8th. They have counted up to 3,000 bald eagles in one day. So it's a really cool place to go. Even if you've got clients that are heading up to Whistler, tell them to call into Brackendale and just check it out. It's a really easy pull up the side of the road if they're driving. If they've got a private transfer, maybe you can organize for them to go visit the eagles before they head up to Whistler. And I think this is my last slide about winter weather in British Columbia. So this is the West Coast. We call it storm watching. Other people call it bad weather. Definitely popular activity to do. A great place to go chill out by a hot fire and look out the window at the storms. We've got lots of websites with information about other things in British Columbia. So I will send through the presentation back to you guys so you have all that information at the end. And as I said, I'm based in Sydney, so feel free to send me an email if you need any help with anything. Thank you, Nathan. Any questions from anyone?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Jo. Great presentation there on all the cool things you can do in BC. Guys, yeah, question time. Feel free to use the chat function, or you can jump off mute and jump in with any questions you may have. I'll give you a minute. All right, I might just stop the recording there.
Thank you, everyone.